Module 1. Europe after the Second World War: Strategic, Political, and Economic Roles. Welcome to this course on Europe in world politics. Europe has been at the center of global affairs for centuries, sometimes as a colonizing force, sometimes as a battlefield, and today as a unique example of regional cooperation and integration. In this first module, we will focus on Europe's role in world politics after the Second World War. We will examine how Western Europe redefined itself politically, strategically, and economically, the impact of European integration, the role of Atlantic relations with the United States, and Europe's policies toward both Eastern Europe and the developing world. Section 1. Post-war Europe, a shattered continent. At the end of World War II, Europe was devastated. Cities lay in ruins, industries had collapsed, millions were displaced, and political systems were destabilized. The traditional great powers such as Britain, France, and Germany were weakened. Into this vacuum emerged two global superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union. This marked the beginning of the Cold War, and Europe became the main arena of confrontation between East and West. Western Europe sought to rebuild its economy and security through cooperation with the US, while Eastern Europe came under Soviet domination. Section 2. Economic Recovery and Strategic Realignment. The United States played a central role in Europe's recovery through the Marshall Plan of 1948, which provided aid for reconstruction. This not only revived European economies but also tied Western Europe closely to the American-led capitalist system. Strategically, Western Europe aligned itself with the United States through the creation of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, in 1949. This alliance was designed to deter Soviet aggression and guarantee collective defense. For the first time, Western Europe accepted a permanent American military presence on its soil. Economically, Western Europe began laying the foundations for integration to prevent future wars and to pool resources for growth. Section 3. The origins of European integration. Integration was one of the most remarkable responses to Europe's post-war crisis. The first major step came with the European Coal and Steel Community in 1951, which placed two key war industries under a supranational authority. This was followed by the Treaty of Rome in 1957, which created the European Economic Community, EEC. The purpose of integration was both economic and political. Economically, integration created larger markets, encouraged efficiency, and attracted investment. Politically, it reduced nationalism and created bonds between former enemies, especially France and Germany. Over the decades, integration deepened and widened, eventually leading to the creation of the European Union, EU, which today plays a central role in global politics and economics. Section 4. Atlantic Relations, the US and Western Europe. The transatlantic relationship between Europe and the United States has been one of the pillars of global order since 1945. While rooted in shared democratic values and military cooperation through NATO, this relationship has not been without tensions. During the Cold War, Western Europe relied heavily on American security guarantees against the Soviet Union. Economically, trade between Europe and the US flourished, though disputes occasionally arose over tariffs and subsidies. Politically, Europe sometimes pursued independent positions. For example, France under Charles de Gaulle resisted American dominance within NATO. Despite these challenges, the Atlantic Alliance remained strong, ensuring stability in Europe and shaping global policies. Section 5. Policies toward Eastern Europe during the Cold War. Western Europe's policy toward Eastern Europe during the Cold War was constrained by Soviet dominance. However, some strategies emerged. Non-recognition of Soviet annexations and support for human rights. Economic engagement. West Germany in particular pursued Ostpolitik, seeking reconciliation and trade with Eastern Europe. Support for dissident and reform movements, especially in Poland, Czechoslovakia, and Hungary. With the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, Eastern Europe became free to pursue democracy and market reforms. Western Europe responded with integration policies, offering membership in NATO and the EU to many former communist states. Section 6. Europe and the Third World. In the decades after World War II, Europe's relationship with the developing world shifted. Colonial empires dissolved, and many countries in Africa, Asia, and the Middle East gained independence. Europe's policies were shaped by decolonization, often painful and contested, as in Algeria or Kenya. Development aid and trade agreements, such as the Lomé Convention, linking Europe with African, Caribbean, and Pacific states. Competition with the US and USSR for influence in the Third World. European countries balanced their historical ties, economic interest, and political values in shaping these relationships. To summarize Module 1, after World War II, Europe's political, strategic, and economic role changed dramatically. Integration transformed the continent into a cooperative bloc, Atlantic relations secured Western Europe's security, policies toward Eastern Europe evolved from confrontation to integration, and Europe redefined its relations with the Third World.